Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Another very dark AF morning going on in this one as we get ready for the real trading day, of which we've already seen Bitcoin take out the short-term time frame resistance to the upside. So I want to be following up on that, plus traditional markets opening up for the real trading week in just a bit as well. And of course, futures already trading, plus Forex, so plenty to talk about today. And with that said, let's put the folks over here on the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. And what do we see? We do see, it's almost like a song right now. We do see that the Bitcoin dominance kind of still maintaining that range. Did pop up about 0.25% from yesterday to today, so altcoins getting a bit sucked up as Bitcoin does to overtake the short-term resistance to the upside. Not really all that much, and still kind of holding within the greater range though. Open interest, same thing here, still operating between the level of 1.9.5 billion and 2.1.5 billion, of which we do see it still kind of crawl up to the top side range of that. What I really want to see is a break of that range, whether it be to the upside or above the top side or the bottom side of this current range, also correlated with a break in the price range, again being the action between about $10,000 low and $11,100 high, of which we are actually getting really close to the top side resolution of that one. Now, looking at the fear and greed index, also came down about 4 points from yesterday to today. Kind of bizarre, as Bitcoin was sideways in a crab market. And let's go check out the data tab as well, see if there's anything obvious here that needs to be followed up on it as well. And yeah, we do see the futures premium start to increase a little bit more over spot over the past couple of days, which is what you would expect. Also, the global funding rate actually maintaining above that 0.04% as well, which is still not anything high, not anything too concerning, but it does suggest that we are kind of picking up a little bit of speed here. Looking at the fear and greed index, just holding the same range, nothing to update there. And other than that, I think everything looks just about standard. So let's go into the actual price action charts themselves. And what did we say yesterday? We said a move above, a closure above 10.8 or wherever the 200 simple is, which is pretty much 10.8 right now, would initiate that next move up to the next sort of short-term liquid zone, which would be somewhere around this $11,000 to $11,100 region right here, of which we can just, well, actually, let me actually go to the exact chart that we were looking at yesterday right here. And actually, I don't have the top side one plotted out right here, but we can do it really fast. And I would be looking for Bitcoin to have a nice little short-term stint up into this region, somewhere around, about a little bit above 11,000, like 11,050 to 11,100-ish region, of which I'd be looking for a short-term pullback coming off this region, regardless of whether they're bullish or bearish. However, the big magic, or the potential big magic, could happen if Bitcoin actually does start to close above this region right here. And let's just call it 11,100-ish region to make it easy, other than saying like very specific numbers, because, well, it just gets a little bit too confusing. But realistically, what would be happening around that level is Bitcoin actually would be getting and completing a reversal on the daily. As it is right now, Bitcoin's kind of in limbo, which is your sideways consolidation, right? We have lower lows and lower highs coming off this area right here. Here's your lower high, here's your low, or actually, sorry, we do not have lower lows. We have lower highs, 1, 2, we have low, but we also have higher lows as well right around here. So as Bitcoin continues to kind of work its way through here, it is going to have an actual chance to revert this and complete the reversal with any sort of a daily move, either closing above 11,100 or any sort of a move above, almost said below, last week's high, which was 11,179.90. This is on GDAX right now, but all major exchanges are mostly around that region. Just I want to quickly check out what BitMexico is doing. 11,192. All within that range essentially. So if Bitcoin either ticked above it or closed above the closing high, which again is a little bit under 11,100-ish region, then yes, I would be looking. I'd be calling this a full-on completed reversal, and I'd be looking for a short-term, well, maybe not short-term move, but medium-term move back up to about the mid $11,000 region, or somewhere around 11,500-ish region, and then we'll kind of come back and reanalysize it after that. But as it is right now, there's a lot of things going on in the daily right here. So Bitcoin did obviously catch the 21 and 55 right here, not really getting the bearish cross that we were looking for, or the price action, more importantly, from the bearish cross that we were looking for. But still kind of, oscillating within this region does kind of provide the possibility of a fake out right here. A fake out would be really easily determined actually just going back down to the 4 hour as well, with any sort of a closure below 10.8. Now, while I do think that Bitcoin may retest back down somewhere around that 10.8 region, I do believe that it's going to be another opportunity. I would be looking for Bitcoin more or less to go up to that 11,000 or 11,100-ish region short term today, actually. But anyways, back onto the daily before we go back onto the short term time timeframes. On the daily right now, we're actually going to see daily Stokes have a fresh cross to the upside, rejecting the bearish control zone, which is of interest. Let's go see what Pig has to say about the reverse Stoke indicator. And yes, it will remain to the upside as long as we're above 10,350-ish region, of which I should probably get rid of all these damn decimals. Let's go back to maybe just 2. That's great. Okay, perfect. Anyways, yes, as long as you're above there, yes, it will remain to the upside, which is rather important. Also, looking at daily RSI, we do see it kind of, trending sideways. Long term, it is constructive. Short term, it's still more or less neutral, with a slight bullish twist here. If you had to put something on it, and then what do we see on daily Jewel? A lot of people have been talking about this one. Now, I still do not really look at these sorts of things as signals. A lot of more aggressive traders will, and it probably does produce a short-term momentum drive right here, which coming out of this space, you do have to be thinking, all right, well, that can have the potential domino effect above 11,100-ish region, so it actually could really turn into something that actually does start to look good. But still, I'm a little bit more apprehensive about those. But yes, they do sometimes turn, sometimes within this neutral zone right here, they actually do provide nice little reversals. But here's the thing, I'd want to see that white, which is for most people going to be the yellow, actually start to curl back up and around. By the way, I should actually make an announcement right here too, just because Jesus Christ, man, been getting a lot of emails about this. For whatever reason, our internal emailing service that lets us know what the hell is happening, with anything that goes on in the app is half working, half not working, and we're working it out with the service provider right now. That means basically that if you've been having any issue within the app, whether it be whatever it might be, if you're just trying to email us essentially, then understand that we are doing our best to deal with that. If you've been trying to get into contact, or you feel like there's something that needs to be done, just send an email to support@crowntrading.net, and else we'll take care of you. It's very likely that we just didn't get the email to begin with, and so if you just send us a quick email, explaining the situation, we'll be able to figure it out pretty damn fast, and then there you go. Anyways, back onto it right here. What do we see else that is important on the daily? Not much else actually. I do want to take a quick look at the 12-hour here too and see what this one is printing right now. And what do we see? 12-hour RSI still neutral, slight bullish twist in the short term. 12-hour Stokes going to be nice and aggressively erect there. It will remain erect as long as we're above 10,550-ish region, which is basically the low of this weekend. Hey, what's going on right there? Computer just briefly froze for a moment. It scared the shit out of me, by the way, too. Anyways, going down to the very, very low time frames, like the 4-hour, and we can kind of speak more towards a short-term momentum. Remember yesterday we were looking at historical volatility percentile on the 4-hour, and we were saying this is very likely to expand, and with expansion, it would very likely imply a test back up towards the long-term contraction phase within this region right here, which likely speaks towards the current range that we're holding between about 10,000 and a little bit above 11,000 as it currently is. And with this next move, with this next expansion phase, I'd be looking forward to find its final resting place. No, it's short-term resting place. The next time that we see this pop back up and test around this trend line right here, as that does seem to be the going rate and has gotten a lot of these major moves within this, getting both this massive crash down and also this nice little crash down right here too. So I would be patient with this one, but for now, again, still we do see momentum oscillators all pointed nice and healthily up. 4-hour Stokes nice and erect as well, rejecting getting out of the bullish control zone, pretty damn good right there. 4-hour Jewel, I wouldn't call this anything, but yeah, momentum is still the upside is what it does say. And 4-hour RSI about to get into the bullish control zone for the first time in quite some time. And so all of these things, coming together, yes, I do think that Bitcoin's going to get a try up to somewhere around 11,100, maybe 11,150. If we start to take out that high, then I would extend that target another, actually like $400 into the middle $11,000 region, and this whole thing just starts to look extremely bullish once again. Around that point, as the weekly is putting in what would be considered a macro low if that starts to happen, especially with the monthly closing in just 2 days. Let me just double check on this. Yeah, Wednesday's the 30th, so that's gonna be the last trading day of the month. Well, we have to be aware of what the monthly is doing right here too. So fuck, I'm all over the place right now. Apologies for that, but I suppose we should work through the lower term timeframes first. Anyways, going to the 3-hour, what do we see? Nice girthy green dildo back above that resistance, good shit, and nothing else that we don't really see already on the 4-hour. We just see momentum kind of following each other, which is typically a good sign. Looking at the bi-hourly right here, nice and up as well. Do we see anything on RSI? Really haven't seen much on the RSI in the lower term timeframes, but yep, this one getting back in the bullish control zone for the first time in a while. And what about the hourly? Just for the extremely short term momentum. again, same sort of thing here essentially. So what am I looking for right now? I'm basically short-term and medium-term bullish on Bitcoin as long as we're above 10.8 as we spoke about yesterday. And with that said, let's go over and see how CMEs are operating right now. CME's got the 200 simple kind of looming right overhead about 11,200-ish region. That would be around the same point that Bitcoin starts to test last week's high. And more importantly, that I'd actually be making a new high on CMEs here too. Let me just go see exactly what it would be on a daily tick. On a daily tick, it would be 11,150 actually. And on a closing tick, it would be just under 11,000 actually, 10,975. So one of those two things, again, would look a lot better for me. In completing this as a reversal, we already have a higher low confirmed. That would be your next higher high, and then I'd be looking for moves back here. Actually, this one would suggest a little bit more towards the upper 11,000 bucks region. Now let's go take a look at. Oh, actually, before we get into that, daily RSI looking good here too for a nice constructive behavior. So realistically, if we go over to the weekly now. And see how well we already know how CMEs close. But let's go look at traditional markets right here. Well, traditional markets, spot markets for Bitcoin is maybe a better terminology for that. What do we see? We don't really see all that much. In fact, the weekly still looks a little bit anemic though. Realistically, long term, we don't see anything too crazy just yet. We've still been following the yellow 20 exponential moving average the whole way through, of which that has been your long term bullish and bearish kind of market indications. Anytime that has a positive slope and price actions above, generally bullish. Anytime vice versa, generally bearish. And what do you know? Bitcoin came back down and tested around it a few times on that last nice dump, on that nice what could be a bullish dump right here, while maintaining actually a very, very positive slope throughout this whole thing. So you can back test this one yourself, going all the way back to 2015 to 2017, all the way through. Looks pretty damn good. Same thing from the Genesis to about 2014 as well. And yes, you do get some wicks sometimes below as well, but as long as there's no closures below, and as long as it maintains a positive slope, that has been the signature of bull market still on a long term. Now let's start to pair that up, or actually before we pair that up, let's go look at the or is there anything to be aware of here on the weekly RSI? The weekly RSI actually is not all that impressive. But what about weekly Stokes? Yeah, they're coming down rather aggressively right now, testing around the edge of the bullish controls. And man, fuck, I need some water right now. Sorry about this, guys, but I need a goddamn sippy sip. Oh, fuck me, man. So much better. Jesus. Felt like I was talking through some sort of a rusty hose or some shit. Anyways, yeah, looking at the weekly Stokes right now, what do we see? We do see that momentum will actually officially revert back to the upside with any sort of a closure above 11,750-ish region, which would be essentially your continuation drive on a weekly, right? Now... The reason why that is, Jesus Christ, man, going down the wrong hole too. It's like a bad water day. What more could we have in our lives? But yeah, looking at this right here, coming all the way down to the edge of the bullish control zone. So if we actually were to revert that back onto the upside, it would need to close basically on around a new high on this current run, which is rather interesting. Anyways, go over the monthly, which is gonna close before the weekly, obviously. I want to go. Sorry. Ooh, beef coming out too. It's good, man. All right, saving that one for later. Anyways, no, that's not the way it run. Jesus Christ, man. Come on, Krown. Jesus, man. What I want to do here is actually want to look at the 9 exponential moving average. I've been talking about this on the monthly. This is something that Memento used for very, 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 very long-term price action to kind of judge trend. And what do we see here? Well, we see Bitcoin price action essentially bouncing off it. And longer term, I mean, you basically see this one kind of governing your monthly drives, both to the upside and the downside. Anytime that Bitcoin's above it, generally good. Anytime that Bitcoin's below it, generally bad. Very similar to the weekly 21, except this one is on a monthly, so it does hold more weight. And this actually is operating extremely well right here as it stands. Now pairing that up with momentum oscillators, still macro term is good. Monthly Stokes are about to confirm in the bullish control zone for the first time since 2018 actually. And with that said, also monthly RSI is looking very constructive here too. Now that doesn't mean that we're just going to green dildo our fucking fists all the way to the way to the moonshot here, but constructive does mean that it's holding a very nice range, and long term it does look like it wants to have a nice stint into the bullish control zone. This is also alongside what would be a halt or long signal on the monthly jewel right here. Again, how much do I trust something like this that doesn't have all that much history to kind of fill itself out? Not much, but in the context of everything else that we see, it looks more or less good is kind of the picture that I'm painting right now. So long term, as I've been saying, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. Even with it coming down to that $10,000 low, even down to 7,500, I'd still technically be macro bullish for what it's worth. But it looks like the $10,000 low is going to very well try to be that macro low that Bitcoin operates off of. So this is kind of why I go level by level, even though down around here did look like things, could have very easily broken down. But until it's actually broken, my sort of rules within my own system say treat it as a potential reversal point and extremely strong bounce point, of which it certainly was. But treat it as a reversal point until proven otherwise. And the only way to prove otherwise is with a daily closure below 10,100 region. That condition was never met. So what happens next? Well, we get to go test some upside and see what this baby's got right here. Show me what you got, Bitcoin. Show me what you've got. By the way, I saw the Rick and Morty episode with the screaming fucking son, whatever it was. That had me laughing for way too long, like a lot longer than what I'd be comfortable admitting. So fucking stupid, but so funny. How do those guys make that show? Like, for real, I'd want to meet that person just to know what they're like, just to actually know what they're like. Anyways, I think that we've gotten just about everything here. Let's take a quick look at Pig's probability panel. Of which you can actually find in the description below as well. And let's see what we got. I'm going to use, actually, let's use the exact high of last week. So that's going to be 11,180, we'll call it. Let's just call it 11,2 because it's nice and even and it's easy to remember. And to the downside, I'd actually be using 10.8 right now. The reason why I'd be using 10.8 is because it is, it is a short-term pivot point. And if we do take it back to the downside, I would be looking for Bitcoin probably to come all the way back down to $10,000 now. The momentum is here and now, not, if Bitcoin does break back down below 10.8, that is going to be indicative of greater problems. It will initiate short-term moves back down to about 10.5, but realistically, I don't really see why it'd stop there. This would just look like a lower high in progress, and then we could talk about moves back down to about $10,000 base. So we're still not out of the woods right now. I would just say that more or less things are looking better here for sure. Anyways, yes, let's go look at this. Jesus Christ, man, Krown, stop talking and put on some goddamn indicators. Anyways, so let's see. We do have an above target probability. So this is basically saying that we have a just about a 18.5% chance to create a new high today on this run by the end of the daily dildos closure. That's again, by the end of the day's daily dildo closure. That's 19 hours and 12 minutes. By the same token, we do actually have a 51.75% probability to close actually below 10.8. But remember, that's very proximal to where we currently are operating, as Bitcoin's trading at about 10.9, so that's $100 away from that price point, whereas the upside resolution is going to be, well, more like $300. So it is, it is rather different. Inside range probability about 30%, which is, well, still rather high. So as it stands right now, I'd basically be using that 10.8 region as a nice short-term pivot, and understand that as long as we're above that, I am short-term and medium-term bullish here, and long-term, I do get bullish once again back above 11.1. Macro's never changed. That was bullish all the way through, but that's that includes thousands of dollars of price action. So realistically, we're kind of like at that fun point right now where we get to decide, okay, is this going to be the continuation or not? And I do believe that we're very likely to see that resolve this week. Actually, the reason why I say that is because if we go back down here to our lower term time frame historical volatility percentiles, we are operating within a greater contraction phase. But for now, it would suggest that short term, we probably do pop back up after hitting single digit reads right here, back up somewhere around the long-term regression. So still playing it out long term with a resolution point probably somewhere around the end of the first week to second week of October. So it's right around the corner. And yes, of course, these things can break before that. It definitely does happen. But if we're talking about, what's most likely, statistically speaking, somewhere around here. So yeah, that would be around the end of the first week of October, maybe end of the second week of October as well. So maybe a little more patience is required, but for right now, short term is good, and I would be looking for a move, somewhere around 11,100-ish region, and then we get to play the same thing off that, above 11,150, we'll call it, on a 4-hour dildo closure, or a daily above, or basically a daily above 11.1 a closure, or just a tick above 11.1, let's just call it 11.2. Then yes, I do look for another extension all the way up here towards about 11.5 region, and then we get to play at the same ranges that we were using throughout the whole month of August in this region right here. I still have them plotted out actually on my BitMexican chart right here if you want to see them. It looks like the goddamn matrix. Probably not all that helpful right there, but yeah, it would be very short term. I'd actually move this up to that 11.5 region. This one I'd actually even get rid of right here. That's 11,550. Then we got 11,8. That's still going to be relevant, and then 1250 right here, which is still very much going to be relevant as well. It all depends upon which time frame that you're really looking at for their relevancy. Short term, you're going to see probably a lot of give and go off of all those areas still. But if you're looking at daily closures, yeah, probably still just 11.5, 11.8, 12 essentially. Anyways, let's go check out traditional markets. Let's go check out futures actually. Nasdaq futures. I would imagine that they're probably popping up as well. And are they almost about to make a new higher high on this run as well? Very, 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 very close, but we got a couple things in our way. Well, first, trend, and trend is your friend. We do have that same sort of higher low potentially in place as well, but the 200 exponential average on the 4 hour is looming right at what would be your higher high. So what could I say right here? If we actually do take out this area to the upside, let's call it 11.2, I would look for a great extension here, actually all the way to 11.4 region. It's kind of very confusing right now because Nasdaq futures and Bitcoin have very similar prices, like not exact, but pretty damn similar. So I'm going to get confused on this a lot of the time, and just bear with me here. But looking at the daily right now, daily does look like it wants some up as well. Yeah, I'd basically be looking for this one to play out a bounce. This is very likely to be the week of bouncy bounces and potential reversals on traditional markets right here, 11.4. And if I'm looking at Bitcoin likely to work its way back up as well, what does that mean about traditional markets? Because all these things typically trade together. Well, I'd kind of be silly to say that they're just gonna stop doing that right now. I'd imagine that most of the world market's gonna be bouncing this week. If I had to call Nasdaq right now, somewhere back up to 11.4, 11.5. E-mini futures for SPY, same thing here, somewhere right under like 3,400, we'll call it, or sorry, 3,350-ish region. Let's see what the daily looks like here too. Yeah, somewhere around there would look about good to me. What else do we have? Maybe go check out Nifty 50 really quickly here for the Indians of the world. And what do we see? Yeah, bouncy bounce territory. Once again, I'll be looking for this one short term 11.3 region. How did this one close a weekly though? Yeah, weekly is still very toppy, so that 11.3 tick actually probably does get pushed back. But yes, I would be looking to short term for that bounce to play out a little bit. What about good old Forex? What about Eurodollar? Eurodollar, come back to daddy. Actually, I'd be looking for this one to bounce up a little bit too. Probably somewhere back around 117, but I do believe that would be the next opportunity. I don't believe that this one's reversing right here. I believe that would be your next sort of pushback and set it up for a move back down to about 115 region in October. Maybe middle to late of October. I'd still be looking at this one as long-term toppy. The monthly is going to close, or very, very likely to close, as a not a bullish, but a bearish engulfing dildo right here with any sort of a closure below about 117. So that is critical region. As long as we're below that, especially going into Wednesday, I would be overall a bearish. Looking for it to come back down to about 115 in October and November, and then probably more than that long term. This is yet again a 12-year long trend going all the way back to June 08. And let's go check out Dixie as well. How's Dixie doing in the early morning hours? Yeah, likewise, this one, the counterpart to it, is actually going to put in a massive bullish engulfing dildo with any sort of a closure above 94. So for right now, for me on Dixie, we got a lot of the good moves on this one. I don't really have any short-term calls to be made on this. It is strange here because looking at traditional markets, it makes me think that, well, we'd very likely be looking at a week of bouncy bounces. And if that's to be true, then usually we'd be looking for Dixie to play in the opposite direction. In this case right here, Dixie actually is looking bullish on just about every time frame, daily and above, especially that monthly, which, when we're looking at a monthly, we're looking at really like a quarter to a half a year of price action being based upon that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to play out like today or tomorrow, but what I would be using is that $94 pivot right here, of which we can just put on the drawn tools once again. And basically, as long as we're above the 55, I am, I'm looking for this to just travel its way upwards and onwards. Monthly will initiate hidden bullish divergence, and that will initiate targets all the way up, actually past about 96 and a quarter, maybe even all the way to like 97 and a quarter long term. Again, half a year to a year out probably. But for right now, things are looking good for a nice setup here. My point is that, can this one have a short term down, come back down to $94 and let everything else kind of play out a weekly bounce? Yeah, absolutely. Below 94, I would start to change around my dispositions a little bit. I'd look for a quick move down to 93 and a half, and then I want to see it again, as that would be, well, something else would likely be going on at that time. So I'd want to see it with fresh eyes if that were to happen. Anyways, I forgot to check out my secondary chart on Bitcoin too. What do we see over here? Yeah, Bitcoin maintaining above the 20 simple and the 10 simple. They both get a positive slope. This was the key, actually. The Trollinger Bands were once again the key. Well, actually, no. Well, no, because they actually did have a really good sell reading right here. But you could argue that they did test the bottom of this pretty much, and then it got picked up. Yeah, you could kind of see that. Not exact, but it does work for sure. Looking at it right now, it would suggest short term we probably do test back up to 11.2 actually. And looking at MACD, what do we see? We see the histogram starting to increase its momentum once again. And more importantly, if we actually do see this start to cross the zero read right here, then that's going to be a damn good indication that yes, we will be testing the top side of this medium term region and probably beyond. You know, if I had to call it right now. Anyways, back onto it over here. So we looked at forex, we looked at traditional, we looked at, well, not really traditional, but we looked at futures. What else we want to look at? Maybe a couple shitcoins here. Maybe some Link action. What does Link look like? Holy shit, man! Link would be faking me the fuck out over the last few days. I don't have anything to say. Fuck this one. No. Weekly still a bouncy bounce. Probably does trade. You know, or sorry, I shouldn't say probably does, but might test back down to 90,000 satoshis. But my main point is I'd be looking for this one to play out a greater bounce as well. This is how I feel about most markets right now. Whether you're bullish or bearish, this week is likely to bounce. And if you're bullish, you're looking at this as a full-on reversal. If you're bearish, you're looking at this as just yet again another lower high on a weekly, which both are technically right now. Or it's like, you know, it's like Schrodinger's cat. You know, it's neither alive nor dead until you actually open up the box. They're just both present possibilities for now. But yeah, this one I probably would be looking for to bounce back up. You know, probably above 110,000 to 150,000 satoshis. And yeah, you know, if it does have a short-term move back down to about 90,000, I'd be looking at that as an opportunity here. Below 90,000 satoshis, though, I would start to get bearish again for a new low, or not a new low on this run, but a retest of the lows at like 77,000 satoshis. Let's go check out gold really quick as well. Looks like shit actually. Gold looks like it wants continuation to the downside. But if I look at a weekly, then I quickly realize, while it does look like that overall, short term, is it likely to bounce off the 21? Probably yes. Can it bounce all the way back up to like almost even 1900? Yeah, it could. And I'll still be looking at this as continuation to the downside. So fair enough there. And keep in mind that the monthly is going to be closing. And so far, oh baby, nasty. We've actually did take out last month's low already. So this is confirmed, or especially if we do close below, then this is going to be confirmed as a local high. And I'd be looking for October to bring this baby all the way back down, like 1750-ish region, and probably a little lower than that over time. What about uni? What about this piece of shit? No, just kidding. This amazing piece of technology, which would never do you wrong. Sideways and nothing. I don't think there's any real analysis speed on it, something like that. Let's go over and check out Mr. Buterol, and then we'll kind of call this one a day, maybe even a shorter stream. Yeah, kind of actually. It's 27 minutes right now. Mr. Buterol looks short term like it wants to test some upside. Daily is a lot more under pressure than Bitcoin, to be fair. A lot more under pressure than Bitcoin, actually. Any sort of a daily closure above 363, though, would look good for some short-term continuation back up to about 380-ish region, 385. That's what I'd like to see if Bitcoin is going to continue up here, which it does look like it's going to give a try. Same thing here on the weekly. You know, it's looking like it's in a bouncy bounce area. Can I still be kind of bearish or bullish off this? Yes, both are still very much viable right here. I don't really have a major call to be made off this one, as long as we're kind of also in between the range of low 300 and basically $400 on a weekly. It's a big range right here. How's a monthly looking like right now? What the fuck is that noise? There's like creatures speaking outside. Sounds weird. Anyways, or maybe I'm hearing things. Looking at the monthly right here, monthly close is probably gonna reveal all as monthly close. Well, the monthly can close either as a bearish engulfing, or it can close as continuation still. So I would actually wait on this one. I think that Bitcoin is a little bit easier with direction right now. But let's see. Can we go back down to the lower term time frame and see anything of note here? Momentum does look like it wants to shift to the upside here as well. Historical volatility percentile wants to expand as well. Yeah, I probably would be looking for this one to test back up towards what is this, like 375? If Bitcoin gets going here. By the same token, below, what is this level going to be? This level is more like 345 to the downside. I would 345 gets broken to the downside. I would be looking for a retest of our current low somewhere around like 310 or 300. But for right now, I think Bitcoin's just the easier chart to read. I don't think I have as good of a hold on Mr. Buterol here. This one's still technically in a downtrend, to be fair, on a daily and on a 3-day, and that is still going to be viable as long as we're below about 390, 385 region. So yeah, going back to Bitcoin right now. I still think this is probably the easiest chart to read. As long as you're above 10.8, I am short-term and medium-term bullish for a move up to about 11.1, 11.150-ish region. If that area gets taken out on a daily with any sort of a closure above 11.100 or a tick above last week's high at 11,100, and well, let's just call it 11.2, then I would be looking for extension all the way to about 11.5 region, and then come back for some short-term analysis off that. But that would start to look really, 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 really good going into the monthly close later this week, or sorry, I guess in just 2 days here. By the same token, below 10.8, I would look for a quick move back down to about 10.550-ish region. I would look for a short-term bounce there, but I would be looking for that bounce to get sold into. If Bitcoin breaks back down below 10.8 in this short-term drive right here, I would actually be looking for it to come all the way back down to about 10.1. Quite literally. I know that sounds a little bit like an aggressive call, or maybe it shouldn't be a call nonetheless. Maybe this is not financial advice. It certainly is not financial advice. It's not intended to be financial advice, that's for sure. But looking at this right here, if Bitcoin is going to have this nice drive to the upside, it happens right here, right now. While all momentum oscillators are pointed to the north side, while we're coming into some pretty important closures, and while it does have the potential reversal on its side as well. So a lot of things gunning for it right now. But again, 10.8 is that magical number, and if Bitcoin does break it to the downside, I probably would be looking overall for a move back down to about 10,100-ish region with bounces along the way at 10,550, 10,350, and then your final destination, perhaps more on top of that. But for right now, I think that that's going to do it for myself. I'll be back on tomorrow doing some more analyses, and hopefully get some more water in my life, because it feels like my throat has been on fire this whole damn time. Apologies for that. Anyways, I would like to wish you the best, and the happiest. Take care, and until next time.